Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. We're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, where Garrison and Mickey meet again after all these years, but Garrison doesn't give her up. He's like, oh, Yvette, he's being very coy about it, but he doesn't sell her out. Even though he even knows later on, like, right, like, your ranger buddies are listening in because he knows who she is. Like, oh, he already knows about her becoming a ranger and everything. But obviously him and Mickey have a lot of history, not just an intimate history, but also, well, it's tied to their intimate history, but he was always the troublemaker. We even found out at one point, maybe she mentioned that before about the one that got away, but I don't remember if it was a thing that, I don't know if she ever referenced the fact that they were engaged, but it turns out they were going to get married, but it seems like she kind of left him at the altar type of situation, based on what he said. Like I say, I don't think Mickey, from what I remember, I don't think she went into much detail about it. She just kind of referenced that and never really went too deep into it, but maybe she did. I don't know. Because I love that James corrects Walker later. He's like, well, she's like, he's like, no, she said that was the one. He's the one that got away. He's like, really, we're doing this right now? You lost Mickey, and you want to like go on? It's just like, no. Like, he's like, wait, I lost Mickey. And he's like, yeah, you lost Mickey. So obviously they call up inform Liam as well as Denise about everything that's going on, which Walker wants to stay and play, but obviously Liam doesn't think it's a good idea considering this is connected to the sniper situation in Austin. But the fact is Denise was like, no, as someone who has experience of undercover work, he should be. And even Walker's looking at James like, oh, I didn't expect her to be on my side. Yeah, sure. Denise, D.A. Davidson. But obviously your boy Garrison has been like in the middle of all this, and the reason why he didn't give Mickey up is because he saw it as a golden opportunity, because he wants a way out of this. It's like, yeah, like his life, like he's like, because yeah, you always said that like my life of crime I'd eventually go to a life of crime, and I just didn't want to disappoint you. But it's like, no, like he wants a way out of this now. Like he's gotten in too deep because Serrano has gotten it mixed up in some very, very bad stuff. So he wants out, and he needs Mickey's help. But it comes to a situation like, right, Mickey didn't explain to the rest of the squad like her connection to Garrison and their past and everything, just that he's a CI that she can try and flip. They end up going to the very church that they were going to get married at, and she's like, is this a joke? I'm going to arrest you right now. He's like, no, come on. Like he's very much got a personality like Hoyt, and I think that's the thing. Like, difference is, obviously, Hoyt and Walker grew up like brothers, whereas like Mickey and her Garrison, who is kind of like, because you can see a lot of parallels between their personalities, but it's like obviously their situation is even more complicated because her and this her Hoyt were engaged, so that's kind of the difference there, and that adds in even deeper complications. As actually sad, I'm jumping ahead, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of sad that their stories kind of ended a very similar way. Sadly, trying to do the right thing and just like things going sideways. I mean, like, I'm sure, like, Mickey wanted things to kind of go the route of Hoyt in the beginning, but, like, Hoyt turned things around and was a good guy at the very end. And I think, in the end, Garrison was trying to do the right thing, too. But regardless, like I said, I'm jumping super far ahead, but, he picks up a key, takes Mickey to his place, which Walker and James are already waiting there. It's like, oh, hey, Mickey! And it's like, yeah. So, like, obviously Walker's jumping on her for, like keeping stuff to herself, which she's like, really? You, Mr. Keeps so much stuff hidden? Which I love James has to be like, hey, can we stop acting like third graders? Shouldn't we be focusing on him instead? It's just like, yeah, having to play dad to both the children. You know, I always caught in the middle. But it turns out that the reason why Serrano, like, he's got his hands in every bit of crime, but the reason why he wants Walker dead is because of what Stan might have told him. Because Stan and his connection, like Stan is actually worked directly for Serrano, and Serrano's the one who runs Northside. So that's why he wants, because Walker has continued to be a thorn in Northside's back, including making it so also Walker's so it does seem like this whole Serrano thing and whoever it is that's spying on Walker, those are two separate things. It seemed like they might be connected. I mean, they still could be. Maybe that's why Serrano later on, I'm jumping ahead again, sorry, it is like, right, I'll be seeing you soon. Maybe that's why, because he's probably had people keeping an eye on Walker the entire time. Because he did find out about Mickey, even though she's undercover and everything, because that's why, like, the whole, like, it's, oh yeah, like, GM, like, look after her, bring her to the fold about everything. They're saying, like, yeah, could need some help cleaning up something that went wrong a couple months ago. I'm assuming it's that north side, everything tied to, like, Walker and stuff, because that was, like, 3 months ago, so that could be what he was referencing. It was also interesting, too, because Garrison threw Spider under the bus, saying, like, Spider's the one that actually took the shot at Walker, and she was like, what? No, he might have, you know, been a part of this, but he wasn't a killer. Plus, he had, like, terrible eyesight. He's like, yeah, that's why he missed a shot. The moment he said that, I was like, it was actually Garrison, wasn't it? It's like, it's easy to throw a dead man under the bus, but yeah, it was like, but for him, he wants an immunity deal. And he basically tells them, like, right, there's files that you can get it. You have every connection to what, like, Serrano's up to. He just wants an immunity deal, which the DA gives it to him. But obviously, it's a situation where Liam comes from the perspective of, like, right, I don't think it's a good idea to keep Ranger Ramirez under all of this undercover, because he's like, I know firsthand what going undercover for a long period of time can do. I mean, once again, that's why Walker was like so against it. It's just like, okay, like, I wish you had trusted me about this beforehand. He's like, yeah, but I didn't, like, James is like, I didn't want you to, like, spiral again. He's like, I get that, but the problem is, Mickey, I don't want the same thing to happen to her. Like, what undercover work did to me, I don't want that to do to her, and I think, sadly, it will. It will take its toll on you. Especially because it's going to be hard to go back to your regular life. It was hard for him to, like, put Duke away. I mean, despite everything, like, until we got to that episode where he burned the stuff, he kept Duke around. Like, he didn't get rid of it. He was still holding on to it because it kind of acted as long as it was there, he could always have almost like something to escape to, someone else to be, to kind of escape everything that he's going through. I mean, Duke was his escape in the first place, so... Yes, Mickey went undercover for different reasons, but I think the end result will still kind of be the same regardless. I mean, because, like, you know, she was going undercover to take down a bad guy, but also look out for her partner. But once again, I'm a little all over the place. I thought Garrison set them up the moment he was kind of looking concerned, Mickey going inside, but it's like, no, like, he was legitimately worried that things went sideways, but it's like, yeah, Mickey, Serrano's guy made bail and ended up, because, like, Serrano started killing people because he was closing shop. He was, like making sure, like, cleaning up his trails, and the guy was there to burn the files. Sadly, most of the file got destroyed, like, during the struggle when Walker and Mickey were taking Serrano's guy down. So luckily they came out of it okay. And even Denise was like, oh my god, is, like, Walker still, are they both still in there? It's just because, like, seeing the fire and everything, even she says later on, like, seeing Walker walk out of the fire, like, it brought back some memories. It's more so, like, he's like, right, I'm sure that's, but it's also like, right, she was scared too. Like, I'm sure, like, fires would be triggering either way, but I think, especially with Walker concerned specifically, like, I think it was more so, like, not necessarily the memory of what happened, but I think more so, like, she was scared what would have happened to Walker. Because it's like, she already lost her dad to a fire, and, like, kind of, like, she is concerned about him. Like, she does care about him still. I think her current predicament with her marriage, which we'll get into that later on, maybe that plays a role in it. Maybe there's, because, I mean, they were, you know, like, those feelings, I think, are still bubbling beneath the surface. Once again, we still don't know where the whole him and Jerry thing stand yet. They didn't touch on that last episode, but, you know, maybe they'll, I don't know, we'll see. But aside from all of that, the fact is, that, like I said, I thought Garrison was like, I knew he was hiding more. But ultimately he talks about, because Walker's like, right, let me go out in the open, since we have no actual evidence against Serrano, let me be the target. He already wants me dead. But Mickey's like, no, like, that's the reason why I'm going undercover, so we wouldn't be in this situation. Plus, it's too dangerous. But Denise is like, right, this might be the only means. So Garrison's like, I'll be your guy. I'll wear a wire. I'll go under, get you all that you need to get, and then we're good. And so, obviously, it's like, it's the only play they have, but he's like, if I make it out of this, I want my immunity and my trip to Maui, so... Mickey's not too happy about it, especially because, once again, he does his Hoyt thing of, like, joking about it. Like, no, it's all good. It's like, no, like, take this a little more seriously. But he's like, yeah, if I make it out of this, it's like, here's this, like, mixed CD I made for you. She's like, you didn't make it for me. He's like, I thought about you when I was making it. So it's like, fine. She finally listens to it. And I figured, I was like, you're going to stumble us across something that proves that he killed. At first, I was like, that he was the shooter, but it's like, well, it proved that he killed Spider, but it also proved that he was the shooter, too. And she didn't bring anything up because she was wondering whether or not this was a trap. She wasn't sure. Serrano was already waiting because he found out that Mickey was a Ranger. So that's what I'm curious about. Like, he says specifically some people. So either he has some people that are, like, have enough information about law enforcement to do that, or that's why I'm wondering, like, if the people who are watching Walker's house, like, I'm sure Mickey stopped by, like, who knows, like, how, because we didn't find out about the surveillance until the end of season 1, so that was 3 months ago. So that surveillance could have been there a little bit before then, like maybe some contractors, or somebody that was around, or maybe while the family was away dealing with stuff, like they snuck in and did their thing, right? So it could be like those people watching, like Mickey could have gotten caught on camera, so they knew exactly. He just references, he knows, like some people let him know about Mickey being a Ranger, so I just think that's kind of interesting. So these, once again, they could be separate storylines, or they still could be connected. Like Serrano was like, I'll be seeing you soon, makes me think. That kind of sucked. Like, Jesus, you had to deal with it last season. Now you got to deal with it again about, like, potentially someone breaking out of prison and coming after you. We'll see, but basically he gave Garrison an ultimatum. Either you finish this for me by killing Walker, or I'll kill you and your girl. And obviously, it's like, it turns out he is the one that killed Spider. He had kept being like, oh yeah, Spider was my friend, but Spider was the one who actually got hired to do the job initially, but Spider bailed at the last second, so Garrison took the job, and he was like, if I didn't take it, someone else would. And the reason why he could have missed Walker, he could have hit Walker back in Austin, but he didn't, because he knew about, like, he already knew about Walker and Mickey. He didn't expect them to run into each other under these circumstances, but interesting, recent conversation, something came up tonight, tonight, I'm saying tonight, it's actually the next day when I'm recording this, today it is going up is what I'm saying, so, like, but obviously, new episodes of stuff last night, there was the conversations about, like, karma and stuff like that, but, it's just interesting how the world works. It's like, making your own fate, and fate just happens. Well, it's not just fate, it's just, like, karma has a way of just, like, smacking you in the face, but yeah, now he doesn't have much of a choice because he wants to protect Mickey. The guy that was rolling up, I was kind of scared, but luckily Mickey took him down. But he's like, right, if you don't stop me now, Mickey, this next shot's going to go after your partner. And she pushed him over the ledge, but she grabbed him. And he was even telling her, like, it's okay, it's not your fault. And he falls and dies. And like I said, it's sad because, once again, Walker and the whole Hoyt situation, like I said, kind of had the same end results, different ways you got there, but still, these are people they cared about that died, that they kind of probably, Mickey's not going to forgive herself for this, because it's like, right, I should have gotten you out of this, despite what you were mixed up in, you were still someone I cared about, and now it's like, she's like, oh, I just need to go for a drive, and interestingly enough, how her and Walker initially first met, we find them kind of on the flip side of that, and it's her listening to that song, he's like, oh, I love this song, and she's like, I do too. And she kept that painting of the church that Garrison did. He was like, yeah, I just never got the sky right. It sucks that things came down to this. I think this is going to have a long-term effect on Mickey. Because once again, it's like, this is going to sit with her because, like, yeah, she took this job for a particular reason. So she's going to probably blame herself. It's like, yeah, we might have taken down Serrano, but if it wasn't for me doing this, maybe Garrison would be alive. But he's not alive now. He was in this, like, he would have been fine if I hadn't taken this undercover job. Like, she might start thinking like that. It's going to definitely have a huge impact on her and Trey's relationship, because I think for her, it's like, she's going to start, like, probably, like, Walker, it took a long time for him to kind of find his footing again, and I think it's going to take that for me. Like I said, she, at least with this, she might try and go back to, I don't know, I don't know, because we saw what Walker did, like, trying to come back to normal life afterwards. It was only 3 months, but that's, and especially knowing, like, the end result, like, it'll be easier being someone else. It might be easier being a vet or someone else rather than being Mickey right now. Because it's like, yeah, because it's not just some rando guy that died. It's a guy that you've known forever. It was a dude that you were in love with, the one that got away, you know? That's going to hit in a certain light, especially because like he knew about her and Trey, and he's like, hey, like, you got that special someone in your life. I wonder, did he also know that because he saw Mickey? Well, no, because he didn't realize Mickey was a part of this, so he didn't see, like, he was there at the bar, but he didn't see her. He was just there to kill Spider, because it's like, yeah, he kind of, well, because I guess Serrano was like, right, the kid didn't do what he was supposed to, so he's got to be taken off the board because of that. So, but also it sucks that it's just like him saying like, oh, he hoped like her being happy is all that matters. So now probably even being around Trey being happy, it's just like, right, it's just a reminder of him not being here. His life was kind of cut short, and it's going to be a lot of like internalizing a lot of that. But also, like I said, Serrano made it clear, like, oh, I'll be seeing you, Cordell, so we're definitely not done with this. This chapter isn't closed. Because for Cordell, it's like, finally, like, this would be the end-all, be-all, because I thought it ended last season with, like, Stan and everything, but, like, knowing that Stan worked for Serrano. I mean, Serrano is getting locked up, so there's a good chance he'll end up in the... Because I think Stan's alive. I don't think Stan's dead, but it's like, most likely if they end up in the same prison, they're gonna have to like put Stan in like protective custody or whatever. I think he already was supposed to be anyway, but it's like solitary confinement, just so like he's away from the general population, because if Serrano's in the same prison, he can get to him, type of thing. Like I said, if Stan's alive, and I think he is, I could be wrong. Another angle to this episode that kind of ties into things. Obviously, Trey is trying to keep the kids in line, give them a second chance to kind of get away from detention, which I love Todd being like, hey, how about we just skip to the end of this Breakfast Club situation? It's like, oh, I forgot what he was referring to Stella as, like, oh, like the loner or something like that. The film geek for August. August is like, hey, I'm more of the music geek. He's like, the beautiful idiot, and she's like, oh, could you not refer to yourself as that? He was like, the beautiful misunderstood idiot, and he was trying to pick what Colt was going to be, but Trey needed to distract himself from the whole Mickey thing, because he never got any updates throughout the episode. Ended up doing a little bit of an escape room with each one of them. So Todd and August got locked up in one side, and it's like, right, you got to find the key. Like, you know, if you want to, you can give up, but you have to go back to your 6 hours of detention. But if you find the keys and unlock your paths, it's like you get to leave. So Todd and August end up talking about Ruby. It's like, oh, she did kind of leave me for to be with you. He's like, yeah, sorry about that. He's like, no, it's cool. We're all kind of in a better place when we were friends. I guess we're going to get a little more Todd this season, maybe. But yeah, they ended up finding out where the key was, because it's like, right, like they filmed the games and stuff like that. The first one, he's like, oh yeah, like I hooked up with like this person, and then August's like, oh cool. But luckily they got the key and bailed out. But obviously the real deeper situation was Colton and Stella. So the reason why Colton's acting the way he is because, once again, his parents are getting divorced, which that's why I was bringing up earlier about like her, Denise's situation. It was like whether or not that was going to lead to anything with Walker, but I was like, I thought there was a whole Walker and Jerry thing, but maybe because they haven't really set up whether or not that's a thing or not, because they both feel weird about like the person that they were both into is going. Like she was in, like her and Hoyt, he's going, him and Emily, she's going. So it'd probably still be that weird, awkward phase of like, maybe that's why they haven't really talked about it, really haven't really dealt with it. Because like, to my recollection, not unless something changed in that 3-month period, but to my knowledge, they were still up in the air where we left off in season 1. I could be mistaken. I might not be remembering correctly. But aside from that, that's why I was thinking like maybe there was something maybe with the whole him and Denise thing, considering they have a past too. But other than that, but Colton's parents are getting divorced. And for him, it's like, no, I'm happy about it. He's like, actually, they'd be so much happier apart from each other. But the problem is now he's caught in the middle, like, because it comes into who gets custody. And, like, he becomes, like, a piece of the, like, he becomes, like, I'm sure for him, it's like, I feel like more like a prop in this divorce. Like, I get used against the other, like, and based on the first episode, you wouldn't have known they were going through a divorce, but, I mean, maybe that's why they're just keeping that tight lip. Maybe, like, that encounter, at the bar, set that up. Maybe that's what kind of set the tone for, like, they were probably already having issues, and him going off like that towards Liam and Walker just added more fuel to the fire of what was already an issue, maybe. But other than that, they obviously, he apologizes later on because he's like, right, here I am complaining about living parents, knowing what her circumstances are. He was like, right, I'm sorry. And she's like, yeah, I'd give anything to have, like, you know, who's going to take out the trash fight? He's like, yeah, it's kind of reductive, kind of saying, like, yeah, the fights are bigger than that, but still, I get your point. But it's like, yeah, it's like, right, Garrison knows that our family has connections, right? Because the whole point of it is like, right, your connections to each other is what's going to help you find the key. It's kind of how it worked in both cases. So, like, in this case, it's like, right, one-on-one, it's military code for poor communication. I mean, he was Trey was in the military, plus he's kind of a dork, so yes. And then also, like, they found it in, like, a music book, because he was like, yeah, I let the principal know, like, when I first came here that I was kind of interested in music. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So they luckily got the key, and I love it. They're like, whoa, it's kind of creepy, you're standing here waiting at the door. He's like, my only job is to watch over you guys. But it's like, yeah, you got the key, so go on, enjoy the rest of your day. And so Stella ends up finding him as he's walking home, and she offers him a ride because, like, right, he did get his car taken because of everything. So as they were going back, it's like, right, I forgot you guys are living to each other. It's like, right, this is where the road split. He's going to walk the rest of the way home. It'd probably be a little awkward having Stella drop you off. It'd probably like, yeah, especially where their family's currently in. But then they find a horse. And so it's like, right, it's not one of their horses. And the Davidsons don't have any horses. So it's like, what are we going to do? And it's like, oh, let's take care of it and help it. And then you see, like, Colton kind of look at Stella. I think, like, for him, he started to realize, like, right, kind of got the wrong impression of you. So I think, interestingly enough, the next generation, Stella, Colton, and August might be the ones who might be able to bridge the gap between, like, what has essentially been 3 generations of issues. I mean, it more so goes back with Walker and Denise's father's death. Like, it mainly goes back that, but it kind of still trails back to, like, 3 generations. So that the youngest generation might be the ones that kind of be able to finally bridge the gap between the Davidsons. And there's a lot of history there, so maybe not. Who knows? It might even get complicated if with the whole, well, Stella and, I mean, because that's what I'm curious. Like, are they going to go down this Stella and Colton route? I mean, she just kind of got out of a complicated relationship not too long ago, so might not be too... Especially considering that relationship also had ties to her father's past, you know? So it's like, it's probably going to be a weird situation to be in, so probably not going to be too... I don't know. And then there's also, once again, the possibility of Denise and Walker. But if I could, like, I would want Jerry and Walker to get together. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see how all of this plays out going forward. In between last episode and this episode, there was some news about the show that came out. Like, I don't want to, like, if you know it, don't talk about it, because I don't want to, like, ruin it, because it kind of I'm assuming, we'll see if that's going to be a couple episodes into the season, because I didn't read the article. Once again, damn Google alerts. But I got this, like, a Google alert about something related to Walker. And I don't know if that's going to be something that it said, like, this thing is going to happen. It seemed like so it's going to happen at some point during this season. I think it's going to be pretty early on. I don't think it's going to be by the end of the season, which it was a bummer just hearing that news, but also I wish I didn't know into it, because now I'm expecting it storyline-wise. So like I said, if you know what I'm talking about, I highly recommend, if you don't want to know, don't look into it, because it's like, it's not, I mean, if you're curious why, because I didn't look into it, but considering the CW is in this situation, sometimes I'm figuring, like, it's probably just, like, extenuating circumstances on a personal level, just like, I'll get into it when the time comes in the story for this thing to happen. I know I'm being so, but it's also, like, because, like, I wish I didn't know this information, so that's why, like, I'm not trying to talk about it. But like I said, it's a bummer, some information, but I'm sure, like, there are reasons for it, and like I said, I'll talk about it then, even though I haven't read into them, but I can speculate what the reasons are. But, like, you know, like I said, I'll talk about it more and stop being so, like, coy about it then. But it's just, like, I don't want to ruin it for anyone that doesn't know, who has avoided this information, so they don't have to worry about it. So, But I'm interested to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode, regardless. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.